This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to A Sharp Outlook on K4HD Radio and Talk or TV. I am Angela Sharp, your host. Our armchair discussions with industry experts will give you the steps, tools, and information to be successful in business and to prepare you to be your best self. Hello, I'm Angela Sharp, and welcome to A Sharp Outlook. Do you have a student that will be graduating next year in June or maybe May? Or do you have one that's in the 11th grade that might be soon graduating? Do they have a dream to go to college? And do you have the financing to be able to help them to go to college? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, how to pay for college so that your student can go to college and live their dream. What are the main sources students and families can use to fund college tuition? And how can you maximize financial aid? For many, the financial aid process begins by completing the free application for federal student aid. But there are a lot of different options that are out there, and our guest today is very knowledgeable about that, and he's going to help us be able to discover all the different ways to be able to get funding and aid for your students' college tuition, how to apply for scholarships, how to win scholarships, when to get started, how to get started, and choosing an affordable college. Students and families use a variety of sources to pay for college: the tuition, personal income, savings, scholarships, grants, and loans. The specific combinations of funding sources varies by family income, and the student's academic record is really important, and the type of institution that they're wanting to attend. I want to bring Dr. Stephen Jones to our show so that we can talk about this. We had Dr. Jones on back in July talking about how your student can study and be able to get better grades and be able to pass their test. Well, today, this is now that they're passing the test and memorizing their information and ready to go to college. Now we need to inform you parents how to help your student be able to get into college. As we know, Dr. Stephen Jones is the Associate Dean for Student in College of Engineering in Villanova University. He is a successful author, speaker, and a college readiness and student retention expert. Dr. Jones is currently the president of SAJ Publishing. He is also the Associate Dean of Student and Strategic Programs in the College of Engineering. Dr. Jones, welcome back to Sharp Outlook.
I guess I can still say good morning to everybody. I think this is a wonderful topic. It's always good to talk about how to pay for college for me, because I want to try to send as many college students to college as possible. And it is possible. One of the things that I think it should be clear that this whole idea of funding college doesn't start when you get to high school. That it should start early. And when your child is born, you should have thoughts about, how I'm going to pay for college, where I'm going to invest. There are different resources that you can put money into an account starting that early, and it'll accumulate over time so that by the time you get to high school, you have some pool of funding to think about. And I think this is important because a lot of times, especially in the African-American community, when kids get into middle school, children get into middle school, the parents start telling them, I don't have money to send you to college. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And so just by sending that message, it can delay a child's interest in even going further. So one of the things I would like to say today is to the parents, don't tell your child that you don't have enough money. There are over 6,000 colleges in the United States, both four-year colleges and two-year colleges. And we just need to find the right one for you, the right one that fits you and your income situation so that you can be successful at this goal. And I think hopefully it'll start today.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what's so important about it, because like you said, if a child hears you tell them, I'm not going to have the money to send you to college, it's just going to, well, they're going to have a downer, and it's going to make them difficult to even continue to focus or even be energized, because that's, stepping into their dream and saying, you're not going to be able to have that dream. You're not going to be able to do the things that you've always wanted to do since you were 6 years old. And so, yeah, please don't tell those children something like that, because there are options. You may not have it all, but there are other sources. Let's find out what the combinations can be to help you do that, so that you don't have to have that talk with your children. So tell us about some of the different options that are out there.
Yeah, so everyone is allowed to apply for the federal financial aid. That's FAFSA. I know the policies around how much of that money is available these days has changed, but there still is money available from the federal government. And many states actually use that FAFSA form, the information that it provides, to determine how much aid that state is going to give to you as well. So if you ignore the FAFSA form, you may be missing out on opportunities to get funding from the federal government as well as from your state, because they're using that form to determine how much money they're going to give to you overall. So that's kind of the foundation of beginning the whole process. And one of the things I would say to you is talk to your school counselor about that form. Your school counselor might have sessions at the school on completing the financial aid form. I know here in Philadelphia, we have sessions all over the city around how to complete that form. We have something called the Philadelphia College Roundtable that helps with filling out that, and we educate others on how to help those individuals to fill out their form. So there's always someone out there to help. You just have to sometimes dig into meeting with the counselor at your school or the vice principal at your school to find out what resources are available. And I will say also, don't wait until junior year to get started getting this information. So the first year that you're in high school, you should start gathering all this information about the FAFSA form, the requirements, the information that you're going to have to provide, the information that your students are going to have to provide. And if their school has a regular financial aid workshop at the school, start going 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. So you'll gather so much information on what you need to do to get access to that information. And I think that really works. It keeps you on task with how things are changing rather than waiting to the senior year. And now, oh, I thought I needed this, but I needed that to find these funds that are available to you.
Yeah, that's important. I know when I was a little girl a long time ago, I was in the 6th grade and knew I wanted to go to college. But back then we had a lot of counselors, we had a lot of college prep. They started talking to us about that in the 6th grade. And so we had a lot of motivation that was going on, back in those years. I don't know whether they have that, like I said, with the school funding and things. Some of them don't even have, counselors anymore. But, there has to be, right now there's so much tech. Go look online or something and find out. But, that information is available.
Yeah, also would say go to your local state legislator's office and find out what kind of resources and information that they know. See, in Pennsylvania, we have FIA, which is our state federal financial aid, but they also coordinate with FAFSA. And so they work together to have seminars throughout the state. So you may be going to your state legislator, your senator's office or council person's office. You can find out what's available as well.
Yeah, information, like I said, information is power. And the more you know, the more power you have to be able to make good decisions because you get all of the data that you need to be able to analyze and come up with a solution. What's the total cost of attendance, and what expenses does it cover? What's the cost now? I know it was really a lot cheaper when I went to school. What's
Um,
the cost now?
I mean, the cost, tuition, room, and board can go anywhere from 25,000 to 95,000 for 1 year in college.
Ooh.
And so it is a big investment that you have to consider what is affordable to you. The colleges are supposed to give you an idea of what amount of aid that you're going to get each year. If a college does not do that, then you risk the possibility of the second year you thought you had X amount of money and now it's changed in the second year. So have that conversation with the financial aid office about how much they can tell you about what's going to happen over the next 4 years. Will there be increases that go along with the
Mhm.
increases in tuition? Because, tuition can increase 3 to 5% per year while you're in college. So if you've gotten a certain amount of financial aid, and then the tuition increases, but that financial aid doesn't increase, you have to make up the difference. And
Mhm.
you have to know what is your true ability to make that difference up.
Will they tell you that, when you first apply? Will they be informed enough to be able to tell you, yeah, there might be some increases, but this aid that you're receiving right now will not, increase proportionately?
If that's the way that they operate at the financial aid level,
Mhm.
it will be determined by how the institution is. There are some institutions that are not raising tuition right away. They may wait 1 or 2 years. But the odd thing about that, students feel that when you don't raise tuition, the quality is going down. So there's a delicate balance of
Mhm.
what you want to do with that. Because you don't want to lose students because they can no longer afford your institution, but you
Right.
also don't want to send the wrong message.
Is there some way you can kind of negotiate while you're, discussing the aid and get a rate lock in?
Well, you can well, there's certain different types of scholarships. So the scholarship will determine what that will be throughout the time that you're in school. So, and you're right. I mean, it would lock in maybe the most that we're going to give is $30,000 a year. You have to come up with a difference, whatever that might be. But I would say always make sure whatever the scholarship is, whatever the aid is, that you have documentation, that you have proof of what was said, what was committed, so that those things don't go away. You know exactly what they're going to be, and you can prepare for the subsequent years and how you're going to be able to fund your education. So it just depends on the institution. A lot of the institutions have something called the presidential scholarship, and the presidential scholarship pays for everything. It pays for housing, it pays for
Mhm.
tuition. There might be a stipend that goes along with it on a monthly basis. Those are for the top school students who've applied to various schools that are able to receive that presidential. But it's a wonderful resource. And again, it depends on the university's funding. Um,
Mhm.
place like Penn State might have 30 of them, whereas a private school might only have 10 of them. Yeah, so it just depends on the institution. This year, we started considering everyone for scholarships. So it used to be you had to apply for it.
Right.
Now we're just looking at your profile and your information to determine who we want to bring in and maybe interview for these scholarships.
Now, do most of the scholarships, or and financial aid, do they also pay for, additional fees, like specific courses that might be something wasn't part of the regular plan, but you realize now you have additional courses that you want to take because of the path you're going? Would that it cover that? Would it cover, lab fees or books, food?
Well, everyone has a maximum number of credits that you can take per semester. And so if you're within that range or whatever the maximum is at that institution, they're not going to charge you extra for courses because they're not even going to allow you to take more than that amount of courses. Why? Because they don't want you to fail. They have a history of a student with this amount of courses can still have success, and they want to overburden the student with too many credits where they don't have enough time to even study. So they're kind of maximizing that out for each semester.
Okay.
And I have actually
Mhm.
told some
Go ahead.
students, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I would say I have, depending on the student's circumstances, if they're struggling with a semester, I have told students to maybe consider dropping down to 4 classes instead of 5, just for that one semester to work their way through. Because you'd rather get through the semester without having a failing grade on your transcript than to have a
Mhm.
failing grade and now your scholarship is at jeopardy because
Right.
you didn't maintain the GPA. And that's another point, I guess, that some scholarships require that you must maintain a 3.0 to keep the scholarship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is important. That's why I say even, their academics is very important to be considered when they are considering what school they're going to and, what kind of aid they're going after. There's so much more funds available for students who are in the 4.0 range than maybe the 2.5 range. And so it's very important to, get that academic and get that, get your scores, get your test, do what you can to make sure that you are a student that is achieving excellence because it opens so many more doors for you
Mhm.
than if you're just average and just trying to get by. Um, so that's really, really important.
Yeah, I
Um,
would say that don't. So some students need to start at community college. If you know that your child has a 2.5, 2.7, it might be better for them because you're looking at their study habits, you're looking at how much they invest in reading their books. You know your child. Has your
mhm,
child been fully engaged in the learning process? And you don't want to spend $40,000 for your student not to make it through the first semester in college. So it's not a bad thing. Plus, it's more affordable for them to start out at a community college and then
right.
transfer into a 4-year institution. There may be some agreement. For example, Community College of Philadelphia has an agreement with Temple University, and all the credits that they take at the Community College of Philadelphia will transfer into Temple. So they only have 2
Mhm.
additional years after they earn their associate degree. That's a worthwhile way of investing because you want to see whether your child will actually put forth the effort to be successful in college.
Right. Yeah, especially if during high school they really weren't as focused as
Mhm.
they may have been, didn't have good study habits, um, didn't have the maturity. I mean, to
Mhm.
be honest, some of them just really have spent too much time maybe clowning around and
Mhm.
didn't realize, you know what, this is a good time, it's a fun time, but you're getting ready to make a step into adulthood. And now you really need to start getting serious about the future because you're going to be older a lot longer than this moment right now. And I
Mhm.
don't think, a lot of youth understand you hit that age 21, you've grown
Mhm.
and all of the pressures of adulthood, comes down on you and you haven't thought about it, you haven't planned for it, you haven't worked towards it, and then there you are, um, not knowing what to do and just, making a lot of bad decisions. So you need to understand when you come in as a sophomore in high school, you have 3 more steps to
Mhm.
becoming an adult and
Yes.
getting into a situation where you need to be making decisions for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
Selecting a career, you should be thinking about that a lot sooner than senior grade.
Yes.
You really need to be thinking about it because you are stepping into, and that's when things become serious, and you don't get as many um, considerations that, oh, they're just a kid. Nope, they don't think about that
Oh.
anymore. Now you're an adult and need to be
Mhm.
making better decisions. Do some
Mhm.
schools offer merit-based scholarships?
Oh, yes. Most colleges do offer merit-based scholarships based on your GPA from high school, your overall grades, activities that you've been involved with, a lot of leadership kinds of things. We want to see students who can be leaders within our organizations on campus. Volunteerism is big a lot of times when they're looking at volunteer activities of students who are applying. We've had students who started their own organization and supported other young people. So anytime you kind of take initiative, start your own organization or start your own business, things like that stand out for the institutions. One of the things that we're in the business of is making sure students graduate. We are evaluated from our accrediting agency in terms of how students are graduating from our institutions. And also we are competing in a way against other institutions in terms of how students are graduating from their institutions. So we want to make sure that we're giving you the best experience that we possibly can while you're enrolled at our institutions.
Okay. One of the things is you're applying for a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Are there requirements to renew that scholarship?
Yeah,
Or
most
does
of
it
most
just
of the
carry on, you don't have to think about it anymore?
mhm. So the financial aid office will have control of what's happening with that scholarship for the most part, and they will know whether there are certain requirements, whether there's a GPA requirement or some kind of volunteer requirement that goes along with it. They'll be aware of that and keep track of that. Um, so it's important to follow whatever guidelines. The guidelines of a scholarship will be given to you up front in the expectation. Now, some scholarships, if you are fall below the GPA that they require, they'll have like a probation semester, and where they'll give you an opportunity to work at it better, and so and that you can improve your GPA. So how do you improve your GPA? You must have better study habits. You must manage your time better. You must get help from your professors when you need help. You need see if we have something called learning support services at our university. A lot of universities have something similar where they want to show you how to study, how to organize, how to plan your day. Um, I say this is so important because I recently had a class of our new students, and I asked them how many have a daily planner. I would say only 5% of the class had a daily planner. So I'm like, how did you get through high school without a daily planner? So I just want to highly recommend to those who are listening to have your child have a daily planner. It can be something that they hold in their hand. I get mine from Staples, or it can be something that you have electronically that will give you notices. But having something that tracks you, how you're using your time, I think is really important. And shows that you're organized and you're planning for your success.
Yeah. And believe it or not, it's something that's a habit you're going to be using for the rest of your life, whether you're at work, whether you have your own business, whatever it is, you're going to have a planner because you're going to be planning your day for the success of your own business. You're going to be planning the day of meeting deadlines on your job, but you're always going to be using a planner for all of the meetings and all of the due dates and all of the people you need to call. So that's a habit that they probably already have. They're planning to call this friend, this friend, this friend, watch TikTok at this time. So you just need to grow up your planner so that it has, some things that are going to give you the values you need so you can succeed in your study habits while you're in school, because it is the foundation and the basic of your very future, your
Yeah.
future job, your future career, your future direction. It's not something you take lightly. It's a decision you're making for the rest of your life. Now, some of us, we take paths, 2 or 3 different ones, but you have the
Yes.
basic foundation. It gives you the little stems that you can go in different directions, but you at least have to set up that foundation.
Mhm.
I was looking at the number of, some of the family contributions that are there, and I was looking at in the years between 23 and 24, parental income and savings had to cover an estimated 48% of the college cost for their families, and then they had to borrow. Um, so parents need to get engaged also. Like
Yeah.
you said, don't start when they're sophomore in high school. Start, okay, maybe the 8th birthday, 10th birthday, but you need some people all to start a funding, when the child is born,
Mhm.
when you're just putting away some money every month to be prepared for that college. So that is something, maybe you parents don't know about. Young parents that are out there listening, can how does that work? What kind of vehicles is it? I know they used to have college insurance plans
Yeah.
where you could.
Mhm.
Mhm,
Yeah, they have something called the 529 plan. Most states have this where you can invest in this 529 plan, not have to worry about taxes, and accumulate money to save for your child. And so I would suggest that everyone takes a look at that for their state and how
mhm,
they can invest in that so they can have a nest egg that's developing over time. And if you have a lot of schools have state schools, so they can use that toward any school, whether it's state school or private college, or they all have ways that they can accept that money to ensure that it's helping to pay for your students'
mhm.
education.
Yeah.
And one of the other things as a tip that I would say to the parents and the students is to have a scholarship day. And that's like 1 hour each week. That's a scholarship time. That's when your son or daughter is doing a scholarship search, sending out letters, meeting deadlines for the scholarships, organizing their schedule, if they have interviews for the scholarships. So I think it's important to have like one set aside day and hour that you're focused in on these scholarships, because a lot of students lose money because they don't have a specific day and time. They don't apply to the scholarships on time, and they don't have time to do the essays and so forth. So if you set aside that time, you're in a better position.
I was wondering, are there still, because I know when I went to school, we had grants that you could apply for. So I was able to go to school through a grant. And of
Mhm.
course, those were funds that if you met the academic requirements, you didn't have to pay back. So do they still have grants?
Oh, they still have grants, and also they have alumni who donate to the institution, and that they're able to use those funds for grants. So a lot of times those grants are in specific departments, like our business department or our fine arts department or our engineering department or our nursing department. They have their own grants that they're able to give out that's named after someone, literally,
Hmm.
that's giving the money, or they put $500,000 in an account, and the interest off of that pays for the ongoing student grants that go out throughout the year. So it just depends on that. Sometimes states have their own grants.
Hmm.
So the main thing is meeting the requirements and knowing that there is a requirement, and that does involve having a calendar of how you're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. So there are resources,
Mhm.
so that people aren't saying, "Well, I'm never going to be able to go to college." There's opportunities, there's funds, and just think, you're leaving money on the table. Nobody leaves money on the table.
Yeah.
If there's money there, go get it. Don't let it just sit there and just go away. Go get the money and let it be able to make your life so much better and help you meet those dreams that you want.
Mhm. Well, one of the reasons why I wrote my scholarship book was because I realized a lot of people don't know how to get started in following and finding scholarship books. So it was kind of my catalyst, and I did seminars and so forth on these topics, and I wanted to provide them with a resource. So the book actually has 100 different scholarship websites that you can go to, and it's a great resource that way.
Yeah, I the first time I talked to you back in 2012 or 2013, I got your books on studying, and then the one on getting, some financial aid and things like that. And well, I don't have that book anymore because I gave it to someone for their
Uh-oh.
children. They
Well,
kept it,
actually,
but the children are benefiting.
yeah, I actually have
They're in
an
school.
addition I've made to it. I have a podcast like you're similar,
Mhm.
but I took the topics on scholarships and put that in a scholarship book as a QR code, so people can now listen to me talk about how to find financial aid, or how to write a letter or a scholarship. So I've done that in all three of the books: the study skills book and the parents book have these QR codes in them that you can actually listen to me talk about the topic of time management, or how to organize yourself, or how to plan for your future. So I'm pretty excited about that, kind of take it to the next level.
And when they go out there to the website, they're able to get this information. Am I correct?
Yes, they can go to drjonesbooks.com to take advantage of those, as well as some schools purchase it for hundreds of students, and I'll
Mhm.
work with them to do an invoice, or if they want to pay by credit card, I can do that, or Cash App these days. It's a
Mhm.
whole another world out
Okay.
there.
Yeah, I was looking at that with the little QR codes and things. It makes it so efficient to be able to go
Mhm.
in and look at those videos and be able to see what to do and give you, because some people, they don't want to read through a lot of
Right.
stuff. They're just used to looking at reels and videos and stuff like that. So yeah, this is an opportunity to just,
Mhm.
go out to that website and, get that information and just download them step by step by step by step until you've finished that application and you get that award letter in the mail and you're
Yes.
happy and dancing around the house. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the whole goal, was to give you an opportunity to meet those dreams and to do those things. I know, like, the scholarships. I mean, I hear about, like, my own granddaughter. She's in school from a basketball scholarship, so you can get them through sports, you can get them through what other skills and
Oh, yes.
gymnastic
You can.
things, athletic. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, there are lots of them. There's everything they use every day. Places like Home Depot, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, companies that you're using every day are giving scholarships. Your parents may work at a place where they have a scholarship. Sometimes parents forget that they have a scholarship at their job, or they may have it through a credit union that they belong to. There are scholarships that are available there. So that's why it's so important to have a day that you're focused on it, because it can take lots of searching to find these things, but it's
Mhm.
worth the investment of your time. And you might get a few rejections, but you also are likely to get a few acceptances of your requests for scholarships. But you have to be in the game. In other words,
Right.
to win them, you have to have submitted. And I've even seen where a scholarship went to one student and they decided not to accept the scholarship, and then the scholarship goes to the next student.
Mhm.
So you still have to be in the game to get it. So make sure that you're applying, meeting the deadlines with everything to take advantage of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially, when you mention the cost of getting this education, I would be writing everybody, whether I was
Mhm.
qualified or not. I don't care if they
Yeah,
reject, I just want to take a chance. I would be writing everyone,
yes,
especially if it's in an area that I have interest. If it's in, healthcare or the arts or something like that, I would definitely be filling it out. And once you learn how to do it, it just becomes, almost automatic how to do the next one and the next one. Um, and another thing, parents can also get tax credits for the money that they spend for their children's higher education expenses. And we're all looking for a tax write-off.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something else that can be a way of being able to make sure that your student is able to go to school and go to, do the things that they want to do. And then, of course, there's always loans too, but, and I'm not saying that they're bad, it's an opportunity, but
Mm-hmm.
check your rate.
Yes.
Check
Yes.
the rates and make sure it's not something that's going to be going up and down and up and down, and make sure it's something that's very affordable. Can you still pay that loan in bad times? Yeah, you can do it great, but you never know what life has to bring and
Right.
what happens if someone in the family, becomes unemployed or becomes ill. Will you still be able to, make those payments? So, I guess maybe at a last resort, that would be an option, but I would definitely be looking at all the various ways that are available. And if you start early, my goodness, you'll find all the opportunities. Like I said, like your state there in Pennsylvania, I know most of the other states, because even the smaller states that I've worked in, and they have all of these different opportunities. So it's a matter of just doing some research. And I know everybody's got some kind of AI on their phone. Put
Mm-hmm.
your AI to work
Work.
and
Uh-huh.
find out where all these scholarships and things are, and then get busy and
Yeah, I'd
start.
like to add to that. There are associations. So I'm the advisor for the National Society of Black Engineers. It's composed of college students and pre-college students. So middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school are part of this big organization that's called the National Society of Black Engineers. They offer scholarships to students not only when they are applying to college, but when they're in college, you can still
Mhm,
apply for more scholarships. So there's the Society of Women Engineers, there's the
mhm,
Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers, there's engineering societies, mechanical, electrical, chemical. But I'm imagining that in the same vein that they have those, there's a National Nursing Association, there's a National Black
mhm.
Nursing Association, there's sororities and fraternities that are focused on different aspects of professions. So those are other places that you can apply for funding. But as I've said earlier, make sure you know the deadlines and make sure 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time you're submitting your application, because sometimes the agency that you've or organization that you submitted the scholarship to will say, oh, we're missing one element. But if you submitted it at the deadline, then they're not going to call you. They're going to say you just missed the opportunity because you didn't do everything you needed to do. So get it in ahead of time. So if they need to tell you, oh, you need this additional essay, they have time to require and request the additional essay or whatever it might be that's necessary.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, I would definitely have it in there at least 60 days before the deadline, just in case they,
Mhm.
do ask for some additional information and you've got to do some research or whatever. Um, like you said, the deadline's important, because if you miss it, I'm sorry, they're not going to they're not going to
No.
open that window and say, okay, we'll give you a chance. No, when it's closed, it's closed. And it's because they have rules and regulations they have to follow. It's not personal. They just have to follow the rules. And if they say the deadline, then it has to be in there by that deadline, because it needs to be a competitive thing where everybody applied at the same time and then they begin making their decisions. People straggling in, then you've taken away from what they consider the fairness of the allotment of the funds. So, yeah, you just got to follow some of the rules. Just follow the rules and make
Yeah.
sure the lines are complete, and make sure the lines are complete, and you can use a spell checker so that it does look as if, you are ready to go to college and you are completing this. So, to the best of your ability. And you were
I
mentioning
think
that
that's really important detail.
yeah, yeah, it
I'm
is.
sorry.
Yeah. No, back to that. It is very important. I know when I've been in management and I've had to read, information from someone that's applying for something or reports that I've expected or something like that. And, there's misspelled words, there's, the sentences aren't connecting correctly and different things like that. Well, it just really just turns off even completely reading the rest of this information because it causes someone to evaluate you without really knowing who you are. They're evaluating you based on what you have presented to them, and what you presented represents who you are. So you need to put your best foot forward and make sure your presentation really does, reflect who you are. And you are a person that's wanting to achieve excellence. So give them excellence to look at, and then they'll know you're serious, but not paying attention to something as simple as spelling when there's all kinds of tools out there that can check and make sure that it's correct, and you won't even check it. Then that does not, appear very kindly for you. So that's really important. So when you need to have it in on time, you need to make sure that it's accurate. You need to make sure that there aren't spelling and sentence errors. That's really important.
And it also sets a precedent for how you want to conduct yourself when you're in college, that you're
Mhm.
paying attention to detail, that you're spell checking things that you're submitting. And that plays out further when you get into corporate America, that there's an expectation that you can communicate effectively in writing or in speaking, that you have that ability. So all these are training grounds for the future that you're expecting to see yourself in. And when you submit that essay, because you've actually thought about what you're about to write, it sounds so much better. It sounds so much enticing to the person that's reading it, because it looks like and it feels like you took time to think about what
Mhm.
you wanted to say.
Mhm. I have a couple more questions. I wanted to know, um, how are the housing costs covered if it's not included in your scholarship? Are there ways that they can like get work, while they're on the, at the university, or, what kinds of things can they find just to cover their housing costs?
Well, there's tuition, room, and board. So the overall financial aid package will include money toward that. And then there'll be a balance that may be left over. If it's covered, it's covered. What some students have done is they have worked, when they get in their sophomore, junior year, they have worked as resident assistants in the residential halls. And then that way their housing is covered because they've been working as a resident assistant. So I've seen a number of students take advantage of that and save, $30,000, $40,000 because they actually worked while they were at their
Mhm.
college. So that's, and then, like you said, with loans, if you have an outstanding balance, you could get a loan, or maybe if you have enough of a grant, it'll cover that. There used to be a time years ago where a lot of students got refunds because they had an over amount of financial aid, but not as many of those are going out as there have been in the past because the cost of college alone is so expensive.
Mhm. I do remember there was always it wasn't small money either. There was always money left over on my grant. It was like, "Oh, wow, I got a few $1,000s here.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, I'm enjoying school."
Yes.
So, yeah, I know now they're probably a lot tighter, but back then, there were a lot of, wonderful perks,
Mhm.
that were offered for you going to school. What other recommendations do you have to assist students that need financial assistance?
Well, believe it or not, some students have done GoFundMe's where they just
Yes.
create a GoFundMe and send it out to all their uncles, aunts, cousins, church members to help them fund their college experience. Um, and sometimes that's been beneficial in terms of, hey, one of your church members is so excited about you being in college, they'll give you $500 every year that you're in college and every year that you're succeeding in college. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like putting it out there for people to make an investment in you. My daughter did it in a really creative way, that she was doing her dissertation for her doctorate degree, and she
Mhm.
created an account with all the books that she needed. And so she sent that out to everybody, kind of almost like, what do you call it? Uh, we have that event before the baby's born, um, where you actually you get gifts.
Yeah, like
So
a
now
baby
they have
shower.
the
Yeah, it
baby
was a
shower.
book
I don't know why
shower.
that didn't come to me. So baby shower. Now they have a system where you can list all the different gifts that you want and just send it out to people, and they just
Mhm.
pay for the thing that they can afford. So she did the same thing with books. She listed the books that she needed funding for, and then they could just go on, and the book was automatically shipped to her. So it was wonderful. She saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars because she really
Oh,
needed
yeah.
those books, and that was a creative way to get that done.
Yeah, books were really expensive even back in my day, so I know they're probably, pretty expensive now, and, just covering those books and lab cost and different things like that, all of that, needs to be
Mhm.
taken into consideration but, you know, just listening to you, it's like there's no reason for anyone wanting to go to college not being able to go to college because there's just so many different options and opportunities to be able to get funding. It just takes some grit and some time and going after it. Like I said, don't leave money on the table. Do something about it and make it happen for yourself. Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, here's another tip that I give out, and that is, for example, the School District of Philadelphia has a section of its website for scholarships, but all those scholarships aren't specifically for Philadelphia students. There are other kinds of scholarships. So go on that website, go on other school districts' websites to see what scholarships they have information about or what resources that they have. A lot of the states themselves have a section of the state website where the Department of Education offers scholarship information. So you can go there as well. Um, all the colleges that you're applying to, you may have 4 or 5 colleges that you're applying to, go to the scholarship portion of their website because there may be other scholarships that aren't specifically targeted to that university that you can apply to.
Yeah, I mean, I know I hear of people that are, born in Ohio, but they end up going to Pennsylvania and different things like that. And, you know, um, are they recruiting these students, to come to their school, or you just decide I'm going to go to that school um, because I want to live in Pennsylvania?
That's a good question. Good question. So we have alumni associations all over the country at Villanova, and we will have different events where the alumni will be the person that represents us at the various high schools in the local area, at the various college fairs. They will help us with that. And then we have admission staff that do the same, admission staff that go all over the country recruiting students. I would say because we're in Philadelphia, right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a large portion of our schools that or students that apply to Villanova are from Virginia through Connecticut because they know our
Mhm.
school. But we do have students from as far as Hawaii and Africa and South America. We have students from all over the world that come to Villanova, from China, from India. So we have representation from all over the world. We keep our doors open to anybody that wants to apply. But yes, we are doing a lot of outreach to make this happen. It's not just happening by advertisement. We had to physically send people to certain places to do the recruitment effort.
Okay. So, in other words, when you hear of a college fair, you need to rush there and make sure you get all the information that is available to you. Dr. Jones, thank you so much for being here today and sharing this information with the parents of those students who want to attend school. And thank you for listening today. And you can contact Dr. Jones at his website and get even more information. And as usual, I'd like to say, do what you can to help your child meet their dream. And whatever you do, stay informed. I want to thank you for joining us on A Sharp Outlook. We have been informed and energized to take the next steps. We have posted links to websites and videos to learn more on today's topic. Please join us again next week for another thought-provoking conversation right here on K4 HD Radio and Talk 4 TV. Listen to the podcast on all the podcast apps. And until next week, stay informed.